Hi, my name is Charles Nick, one of the co-founders of Third Wave Water. I'm here with Justin Pearson. Daddy Got Coffee. Amazing channel. Always love watching the fun stuff he does.
Thank you.
Brilliant insights and fun things that we like to see and learn. And I want to thank you for helping fill the different voids in specialty coffee.
Oh, thanks,
that
man.
I think you've stepped in to help us with.
Yeah, we try and find our own little niche, Sarah and I. It's like I'm the hardcore nerd. She's way more casual.
Yeah.
So even just when we're talking about the stuff around the house and different coffees and different equipment and trying to figure out, the pros and cons and all that stuff, it's fun to bring our perspective into all that stuff.
And she lets you be the nerd, like
yeah,
that's
totally.
Such a huge thing.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, yeah. She runs Daddy Got Coffee. Really, like she's the brains.
Awesome.
I'm the brains behind the coffee stuff. She's the brains behind everything else. So yeah, we definitely do it together.
That is great.
Yeah.
So what in the world got you into coffee? I love this question because it's always different from everybody.
Yeah,
it's
funny.
Like aerospace, and then I got into coffee. It was
Yeah.
part of my life.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I guess this is true for a lot of people, but it was friends plus I feel so many people who are into coffee have this experience where they have that one cup of coffee and it's like paradigm shifting for them. Like it just is not at all what they expected coffee could be. A lot of people have like the blueberry bomb experience. For us, it was a Ethiopian natural from Pilot Coffee in Toronto. And it was like, I still remember, it was a flat white and it was strawberry. I was like, it felt like a strawberry shortcake.
Exist here.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
And it was, I had Starbucks and stuff, but that was my first like proper specialty experience. And then it's like, okay, how can I have that at home?
Yeah.
How can I take this experience that I've had at this cafe and have that like every day?
That is so crazy. Yeah, mine was I was at like a Pete's Coffee in Dayton.
Yeah.
And Alex actually, he works with us now. He was working for them, and they had a light roast. And I think it was like Luminous something. Luminous is a completely different company today, and they're awesome. But it was like I thought that was the name of the coffee. It was so good.
Yeah.
But I remember asking him and some of the other baristas, I'm like, why should I care about a Hawaiian, whatever, light and dark? And he convinced me. I know nothing about any of this.
Yeah.
You have all these stupid brew methods.
Yeah.
What in the world's going on?
Yeah.
And then the first cup they gave me was like a Chemex. And it was clean and crisp.
Yeah.
And it tasted great.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, it's a different experience.
Yeah. Now I can love this, not the burnt charred stuff that I was so used to before.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's that, and that's something that when we're doing our content and thinking through and having friends over and having the coffee experiences, trying to get people to those light bulb moments.
Yeah.
It's like, I love seeing that happen. It's really cool.
The epiphany moments.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's cool.
Right, where they just think you're full of crap. There's not going to be any green apple in this coffee.
Yeah.
That was one that we actually, there was a guy we brought onto our board of advisors.
Yeah.
And we were trying to convince him about our product, like right before we went on Shark Tank. And the tasting notes, it was an Onyx coffee. It had green apple on it. And he's like, there's no way I'm going to taste that. And honestly, I was a little skeptical too. It's like, well, we're going to brew it side by side and see what pops out. And because we were doing local water versus third wave water, and then when he tasted the difference, he's like, "I'll be damned! There's green apple in this coffee."
Yep. It's when people have that for the first time, they remember.
Yeah.
And it shapes their coffee experience moving forward, and that's definitely what happened with me. And
what was the roaster again?
Pilot. Yeah, in Toronto. They're like they're a larger specialty roaster for Canada anyways. They do a lot of direct trade with, they have their producers they partner with year after year. It's a nice little model. Good coffee. They have several locations in the Toronto area. It's fantastic. But they're a little too far for us to drive to like on a daily basis. So it was like we were in the city, went to this place on recommendation of a friend.
Yeah.
Had that experience, obviously bought some coffee, jumped on their subscription, and then started at home. I got a Chemex, and then I think I got an AeroPress.
Okay.
And then that's when it all started. And then all the content stuff came later.
That's so
yeah.
So what about espresso? So this was Carabello Coffee in Cincinnati was the first one. I guess they're kind of on the oh man, I'm gonna forget the name. They're across the river.
Yeah.
So Carabello Coffee was my first experience with espresso, where I was like, this is amazing. Because espresso is one where like everybody just love or hated it, and it was the first time I had something that it didn't have a bitter aftertaste.
Yeah.
And it was just syrupy and it was delicious. Yeah. I could not believe espresso would taste like that.
Yeah. So when we went to pilot that time, the Ethiopian that we had was an espresso drink. So it was flat white. Okay. So, and they have a mod bar, which, you know, they just look, it was at their tasting bar location. So it's at their roastery, and they had a couple mod bars. And so they're pulling espresso in front of us, and we had that drink, and that was mind blowing. And then we had regular espresso. And I didn't have any of that stuff at home, obviously, at the time. Yeah. But then like, I was kind of maybe, I don't know, 1 or 2 years into it, like still pretty young, like my early 20s. Okay. And I had seen this on so I'm dating myself a little bit. So social media was barely even a thing at that point. Yeah. And I had seen on this website the Rock Presso.
I remember that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just thought like this thing, I'd never seen anything like it. And it made espresso. Yeah. And it was like, this is really cool. And so I got it. My dad got it for me as a gift, actually.
Oh, that's fun.
And I was using this Mr. Coffee blade grinder.
Oh man.
That was like
it's the first step.
Yeah.
You're grinding it, but you don't know what the grinder is yet.
And obviously it wasn't working.
Yeah.
You know? So I would like use it, and it was that stage in my coffee journey where I would make it and I would be pretty sure it wasn't right, but then I would try and convince myself that it was good. Yeah. But I didn't really like have any idea. And so
like I took the step.
Yeah.
The step was taken.
Like I think it's good. And there were no cafes that we could like to go back to Toronto to have it. Like it was not a convenient thing that I could just do, you know? So it was funny. It would come down off the shelf. I would like make a coffee. It would be really frustrating. And then I would put it back on the shelf and look at it for another month or two. And then that kept happening. And then eventually I learned a little bit more about grinders. Sarah got me a Rock grinder.
Oh, wow.
Which is it's a manual
burn
grinder.
You have a very supportive family. Like your dad's getting you stuff. Your wife is getting you stuff.
I know. So she got me that for a birthday one year, and it was like, it was a stretch birthday gift because, you know, it was a couple $100. Yeah. And that's when really it started, I think. It's like, then I felt like I could actually make real espresso that looked and tasted like
the syrupy goodness you had before. And just like, whoa.
Yeah.
What was the coffee you said the first place you went to get coffee was what you had coming in?
Yeah.
Still. Okay.
And we jumped on their Roastery Select.
Okay.
Which in some ways, sticking with one roaster and trying all the different coffees that they had, it was good for me in those early days because it wasn't like different roasters roast differently. So the coffees behave differently. So because we were on their subscription, getting all these different origins that they were doing, they're all kind of like in the same lane profile wise. Yeah. Different tasting notes, obviously, but that helped me kind of have some consistency while still having some variety. Yeah. So yeah, those are the early days for us.
That's fun. Yeah. Speaking of variety, do you have an interest in decaf?
I love decaf. so I was talking with Charles before we turned on the camera, and I said, I want to talk about some decaf here.
Because so many people don't, and
yeah,
like they're like, oh, the flavor's gone.
Yeah, yeah. Which, I mean, I get why people say that because decaf, there's not as much of a market for it, so producers tend to send coffee that they can't sell as easily or get rid of as easily to get decaffeinated, and then it's just kind of the dregs of the harvest.
Yeah.
Thankfully, that's changing. But personally, I have had lifelong journeys with depression, anxiety, like diagnosed with all of the above, been medicated differently at different times in my life. And if I just like turn the tap on the coffee, like all throughout the day, it's like I'll start, and I keep that up, I'll start getting panic attacks.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's like, and it's like, it's a physiological thing. So
I mean, caffeine is
it's a stimulant. It's a stimulant, you know?
Yeah.
So it's so funny, man. I was getting these panic attacks daily going to work, and I was feeling like, man, my work is really stressing me out. Because every day driving to work, I would get a panic attack.
Oh, wow.
But I was drinking like 8 cups of coffee a day.
Yeah.
And
that's a lot.
Yeah. And I went to the doc to talk about it.
Yeah.
He like prescribed me, something to like dial that down. Didn't talk about caffeine at all. And then I thought, before I fill this, I'm going to try reducing my caffeine intake and see if anything happens. So I went cold turkey. And within like 2 to 3 days, I stopped getting panic attacks. And then I brought it back up, and I found the sweet spot for me was like, to be safe, 2 coffees a day, caffeinated.
Yeah.
Now I can do like 3, sometimes 4 if I space them out right.
Okay.
But if I do like more, especially stacking day after day,
yeah,
it'll give me like an anxiety response. But I still really like coffee, so I want to enjoy it more often than that. And decaf really allows me, and especially with the new decafs that are coming out that are actually good.
Do tell. So this is what I'm super curious about.
Yeah.
I think Saberista is a good friend of ours.
Yep.
She was out of Dayton. Now she thinks she's in Michigan now.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know what companies you're using for decaf or.
So where I really saw this change was, it might even have been 2, maybe even 3 years ago. Wilton Benitez released a really nice thermal shock. At least I think it was a thermal shock as a decaf. And there's a roaster in Canada called Colorful.
Huh.
He's out of Montreal, and he had roasted this Wilton Benitez decaf. Really interesting coffee.
Yeah.
And sent it out to a bunch of people. And then several other roasters have picked it up. And that coffee's out of his farm, decaffeinated, but still like mint, and not just really good coffees, but also like adventurous in terms of presentation of acidity, unique flavor notes, fermentation, all this stuff that kind of makes the coffees really novel and interesting.
Yeah.
In a decaf was something that up until those coffees started hitting, would really miss. And now it's available, which is great. So I just will like Google like Wilton Benitez decaf, and I'll try and see different roasters that are bringing that in.
Yeah.
There's also more like only decaf roasters. Have you met any of these guys yet? They only roast decaf?
No.
There's a guy who I got to know. He runs a small business he launched within like the last 6 months. He goes under like Wimp Coffee. Only decaf. WIMP. Really cool positioning, but it's like focusing on just good decaf.
Yeah.
So if anybody's watching, they struggle with anxiety, or it's like, if you're really like coffee, can't figure out your anxiety, or you just think you have to live with it, decaf is like, for us, it's like essential, you know?
Well, and it's interesting, like you don't even have to do straight up decaf. You can do half caffeine.
Yeah, totally.
So, like you could even kind of pace it through the day and be like, oh, I want the flavor notes for my delicious whatever. And
do you know Pete Licata?
Yeah.
He's got a new company called Caffeine Control Coffee.
That's awesome.
And it's like, he's got this light system where like green light is like full cap, and then it's down to, or maybe I might have it reversed, but it goes like, it's a spectrum of different coffees with different percentages blended of caffeine and decaf beans.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So when we went on Shark Tank, he was actually our backup to Dylan Siemens from Onyx.
Oh, really?
So Dylan had won that year as Brewers Cup, and that's why it's like you only wanted to bring him, but he was overseas still, so it's like I don't know. We were a little nervous, like, is he going to be able to make it back for the show? To be able to film. And so thank you, Pete. Yeah, you were just you were backup, but you would have been a rock star regardless, because you are a rock star.
Yeah. Caffeine Control Coffee is his
caffeine control.
Yeah, and there's other ones too. Like there's Talking Crow is here in the U.S., and I think there's one called Savarista that they only do decaf. It's kind of coming more to the surface in a good way, where it's not just like bad coffee that they didn't know what to do with, so they decaffeinated it and they're trying to sell it.
It's interesting. So it's not the process as much as just the coffee selection, maybe, that they put the process through to strip it.
Yeah, like if you have a good coffee that's been through the decaffeination process, it's still a good coffee.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure it's different because like structurally the beans are different, so they roast differently. They're like, and they grind differently because they're less dense, but they're still good coffees.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least that's my limited understanding of it, is like the reason why a lot of decaf is bad is just because there's not a huge market for it, or there's not a huge market for it with people that want really excellent coffee. It's more like they're at a wedding and they want a coffee, but it's too late, so they order the decaf.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, it's definitely that kind of, it's almost a misnomer that you're trying to correct, to be honest. Like, it's like decaf doesn't have to be bad because we've had so much bad decaf.
Yes, exactly.
Like, well, this is our experience. So how do we help people understand that that's not really the experience anymore?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's cool.
That's exciting. I'm definitely going to order some for our office from one of the ones.
Yeah.
Just to start testing.
I think Kyle at September brought in some Wilton Benitez decaf too. Yeah. We've had the regular decaf from him too. Yeah, he does great work overall, but the decafs, he brings in some good decaf also. Oh, if you can find the right person that will bring it in, or like, I think roasters need the feedback from their customers.
Yeah.
So if you have a favorite roaster and you're looking for that level of decaf, tell them,
I'm kind of getting older. Maybe it's time for me to start experimenting with decaf.
Yeah. I mean, and I can drink coffee right before I go to sleep and not have an issue. Okay. Oh, it's like, it's not like, oh, I don't want to drink it too late because then I can't sleep. Like, no, I can sleep fine. Okay. But it's like, if I have too much caffeine in my system over time for too many days, I'm going to have an issue. So it's a really nice tool in your tool belt for sure.
How many minutes are on that? 18 or 8 minutes are left. So it's at 22. Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
No worries. Yeah. It'll be cut.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can switch the,
because it's only a 30-minute camera. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're awesome. Thanks, Mike. So let's see. How would you want me to introduce the digital marketing stuff?
You could say, you could just say, obviously, content is a big part of your world, and
what's your content marketing strategy?
What's your say, you could say, how did you get into it?
Okay, there we go. So, being in the Instagrams and all the socials, you get to do a lot of marketing and kind of have fun on that side of it. So, what in the world? What are some of the first steps you do in marketing?
Yeah. So the
Alex.
yeah. So the content thing is interesting. So before I was doing that, before I started my coffee channels,
Yeah.
I was in a bit of a digital strategy role
Yeah.
professionally. So it's like that whole side of it is almost just as much of a passion for me as the coffee stuff
Oh,
is.
really?
Like,
So
yeah,
you enjoy marketing.
yeah.
It's not a pain where you're like, dang it,
I
oh,
wouldn't
gotta
say
come up with a post today.
I enjoy I enjoy strategic thinking
Okay.
and I enjoy digital strategy.
Uh,
Marketing, trying to sell stuff, I can take it or leave it. But what I do like is, um, I like trying to figure out what does the audience like what is resonating, what do they need, how can I bring them that information in in as good of a package as I can, as effective a package as I can for them.
yeah.
Because it's interesting. It's like a lot of that a lot of that stuff you have to just infer by looking at your numbers.
Yeah.
And like you have to try and kind of make sense of all this information that you have behind the scenes
Yeah.
of what made people stick, what made them not stick, and then over time you just repeat it over and over again.
Yeah.
And you learn what works and what doesn't. But I absolutely find that whole process very fun.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, what kind of experiments do you run? Like
Yeah.
that to me is the intriguing part in marketing, where it's like, okay, how do we get people to choose between the two things? It's
Yeah.
color, it's a message, it's a picture, and like what times of the day? How are you doing your A/B
Yeah.
testing?
It's
the
it's
challenge.
it's an interesting question. It's like there's a real balance with that of like I really make sure that I'm covering the things that I'm passionate about first,
Yeah.
not just trying to always game the system.
Yeah.
So it's like I really cover the stuff that like I always tell people I like reviewing stuff that I like.
Okay.
It's like
And that's what makes you your channel. So
Yeah.
like that's the
Yeah.
personality that people
Yeah.
can lean on, and they're
Yeah.
not worried about,
yeah,
oh great, he's gonna sell us something.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I
Yeah.
love doing this.
yeah, I like reviewing stuff that I like. Also, I don't like it's not fun to make a bad review of something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To say like, it's like, yeah, it's just bad for a whole pot. Like, it's not fun to do that. It's more like if there's something that surprises me and I'm like, oh, this is way cooler than I thought. Actually, my expectations were really low for this thing, but it really surprised me. Let's cover it.
Yeah.
You know? So I always try and make that my first thing when it comes to testing.
Okay.
So it's like, and I find as long as my passion is behind the content,
Yeah.
it does good. And then from there, it's just an optimization thing.
Yeah.
So after that, in between that and the optimization, though, I have to make sure it's also my audience is interested. Because sometimes I get like really excited about this thing and nobody actually cares about it. And then if I just keep doing that again and again, then that's not really helpful to anybody, you know?
Yeah, it's like the excitement is contagious to a point, but then it's
Yeah.
like the subject matter with the
Yeah.
excitement kind of amplifies if it resonates.
Yeah. So I really try and look for the content that is in a good alignment of both my passion and my audience's passion. From there, then once I have that, then I worry about the testing, the strategy, the tweaking to try and just make sure that I'm making the best use of the content that I put out there.
Yeah.
Because, it's like to do a YouTube video, the way I do them anyway, they're a lot of work, It's like
Yes.
they're long, they're detailed, there's a lot of discovery that goes on in the testing phase. There's administrative discovery. Like I always reach out to companies that I'm reviewing stuff and I'm like, okay, like tell me about your sustainability practices and
Oh, interesting.
yeah, we started including that this year in all of our reviews. And it's like, what's your manufacturing standards? Like, have you had a labor audit done of your factory? Like all this stuff that if you're thinking about sustainability in your consumer decisions, which Sarah and I try and do for everything,
Yeah.
it's nice to have that in a product review. to have somebody go in, but then that discovery all has to be done. So it's like we want to make, that's where the optimization really comes in.
Yeah.
Is like, we're going to put all this work in to these videos. We want to make sure that they're reaching as effectively as we can. So I'll almost always optimize 2 to 3 thumbnails per video.
Okay.
And YouTube has like a tool where it will weigh them out in different ways and then select the top performing one.
Wait, YouTube does A/B testing on the actual thumbnails?
Thumbnails, yep. So
how did I not know this?
Yeah, so we do a lot of that, a lot of like retention comparisons.
Is that like a super popular channel tool, or is that available to anybody?
No, I think everybody can do it.
That's interesting.
I'll show you how to do it later.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're curious.
Yeah, I have a very small channel.
Yeah, I think everybody has that feature.
I'll have to check that out.
But yeah, it's like, it's, looking in the metrics and trying to figure out, okay, this one had this click-through rate, this one had this. Okay, what? And it's a lot of it is just looking at all the information.
Yeah.
And trying to infer what trends are there.
I'm super excited to ask you this one now.
Okay.
It's more on the YouTube side.
Okay.
So Mr. Beast and all these other massive influencers, they'll go back and forth and talk about thumbnail and title, thumbnail, title, thumbnail, title.
Yes.
How many thumbnails and titles, like on the brainstorming side, do you go through before you pick one?
Oh, a lot. Yeah, a lot.
Not just 2 or 5.
It's
like 50 or 70.
It's a real iterative process.
Yeah.
And it's like, I have a lot of friends that are in YouTube outside of coffee that I've gotten to know over the years. And it's really like, and it's tricky when you're doing product reviews because it's easiest to say, okay, I don't know, like you got a Meraki here, like Meraki espresso machine review.
Yeah.
Like that's what you make. And it's like, this is what I do. It's like, this is this thing review.
Yeah.
But it's like, what I always try and think about is that's great if people are researching a Meraki.
Yeah, they'll find you on the search.
Yeah. But if they're not necessarily interested in Meraki, or if they don't know why they might be interested in Meraki, then that video, YouTube probably won't ever show it to them. And if they do show it to them, they're probably not going to click on it.
Yeah.
So what I always try and figure out is like, what is interesting about this product that anybody would find interesting?
Yeah.
And that's where I start with the video idea. And there's always things that I do in the review that I'm just going to do every time. Like if it's an espresso machine, I'm going to check the temperature stability with the skates. I'm going to log my results, include that as a data point in the review. Same with grinders, like retention, volume, grind speed, flavor characteristics, all that.
Yeah.
That's all like a given. But if I can't find something like interesting about a product that I would think would be like interesting to anybody, regardless of whether or not they're considering that product, then I'm like, I don't know about this one, even if I like it. So I'm always trying to find those angles. And that is where the thumbnail and the title comes from.
That's interesting. So we'll do Meraki as a test, just to have fun with this. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd find maybe a unique feature about it, or I'm trying to think of like anybody, like your mom, anybody, or anybody in the coffee industry. Like how far do you go to the anybody? I try
and feel like anybody.
Anybody.
Yeah. Oh, it's like I did. Before I left, I recorded and did up a video on this minimal flick and subscale. Have you used these things?
No.
It's so funny. These products, I was not excited about at all. They seemed like super gimmicky to me.
Yeah.
And it's like they have the social media campaigns where it's like Golden Brown, who I love, but he's like, what the flick? And, and it's like, oh, this is a magic screen on this.
Yeah.
I'm just like, these feel like why? Like that's kind of how I felt about them.
Yeah.
Then I used them, and totally honest, I was shocked at how much I enjoyed using them. They are They make the process way more convenient. They solve actual problems. I was not expecting that. So when I was titling that video, I made it about that dynamic. It's like these gimmicky coffee gadgets pulled me in.
Yeah.
And then that makes somebody ask, okay, what is the gadget? What does it do? Why did you think it was gimmicky?
No, that's a great way to phrase it. Yeah. So it gives an accusation, but also the question, the statement with the accusation that pulls you in, because now you're curious.
Yeah.
It's curiosity.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
What I'm shooting for.
Yeah, totally. So it's like I'm always trying to do that. And like I think as time has gone on, we've raised the priority of like not just churning out review after review, but actually trying to figure out what is the interesting idea about this thing.
Yeah.
You know?
So how many followers do you have right now? Because like next week when we watch it, it'll be another like 10, 50,000, something. Especially when you look back on these channels and you guys are growing so fast and you're going to look back and it just keeps exploding.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's interesting. So YouTube has like felt like a real slow burn. Like I didn't know how it was going to go, but I think before I really hammered into YouTube, I already had a pretty significant following on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I just wondered if it would just like get cranked up really quickly. But it's been like pretty slow and steady on YouTube. I think I'm at about 40,000 subscribers on YouTube now.
Wow. Yeah, that's still really good.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's great. I've been doing it for a couple of years though now. And Instagram is like right under 100,000.
Wow. Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
yeah. So yeah, it's going good. We have fun with it. It's we've been. So
you haven't made your burnt out YouTube video yet? It's kind of a funny trend for a while. And I got it. I understood, especially with some of the channels. But
yeah, you know, the I quit thumbnail.
Yeah,
right. I know.
And then it trended. And everybody was.
We really try and structure. We've been doing it full time for 2 years, and it's diversified. It's not just YouTube videos. It's we do contract video work and tutorials and because we do video production all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it's we really try and structure it so it works for us, works for our family, so we avoid that burnout.
If you could wave the magic wand and fix anything in coffee, what would you fix? Or is there any elusive issue to be solved?
This is something that is a personal pet peeve, and it's really funny because of what I do. People put way too much stock in gear. And because there's always a new sexy piece of gear. And I mean,
we love our aesthetics.
Yeah. And I love it. I love talking about it. I love figuring it out. I'm very analytical. I like figuring out what makes a product good or bad. Does it do what it says it's going to do? Is it going to make an improvement in your world? But people get so focused on that.
Yeah.
And they either lose sight of the coffee, or other things like water. You know, it's like coffee, water, you need this foundation. And if you have the foundation, you can get coffee that tastes good out of pretty nearly any equipment.
Yeah.
But people only want to hear about equipment. And I love equipment, but it's so fascinating. And I get a bit of a window into this.
Yeah.
Because of my DMs and my Instagram following. People will say, I'm having trouble with my piece of equipment. It doesn't taste right. And then I'll ask what coffee they're using, and they're using bad coffee,
Yeah.
And that's so if there's something I could fix, it would be to shift people's focus away from equipment and more to the coffee that they're brewing, and things like water, obviously too, is really important.
Yeah.
And very often is overlooked.
That's
so
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Justin, I appreciate you taking your time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for hanging out.
Yes, thank you.
A huge blessing and a ton of fun to talk.
Yeah.
And honestly, pick your brain about YouTube stuff because I love learning that stuff. And I'm just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
I know a few other channels that are doing cool stuff, and I'm like, this is fun.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
This is fun.
Honestly, like, hit me up anytime. We can book another time.
Oh,
And
that
like,
would be awesome.
I just like talking about all that. So honestly, take me up on that. And yeah, I would love to talk about it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah. Thanks for all
Thank
your
you,
work.
Justin, so much.
Yeah.
And we'll see everybody next time.